Hello there, friends. I am here to do some beach art with you. And for this activity, we're going to do some painting. And I've gathered all of my painting supplies here. So to start, I just have a nice piece of paper that I can use. I love to paint at my house, so I have a whole collection of paintbrushes. So I have these available. I have 3 little cups here of paint, and inside them I don't know how well you can see this, but I have some yellow paint, some brown paint, and I have some blue paint. The other thing that I have here, and you friends all know what this is, we use these in school a lot, I have my watercolor palette. And with watercolors, we always have a bowl of water, right? So that we can mix the colors up. The other thing that I have here is this big cup, and inside it has different beach sand that I've collected. So I have all different sand in here. So for this activity, we invite you to just use your imaginations and to create your very own beach scene right on your paper. So the reason I have some sand is that I'm going to mix it with some of my paint so that I can create the edge of the water and the sandy beach with the paint. So to do that, I'm going to start with my yellow and my brown paint. So I have those cups here, and I'm going to take some of my sand, and this is going to be so silly, but I'm going to pour some of the sand right into each cup of paint. I'm going to pour a little bit in each. And you can pour it in, or you can mix it in with your fingers. So then I have this brush that I'm not going to use to paint with, and I just want to use the edge of it here so that I can mix the sand. See how I'm stirring, friends? I'm mixing the sand all into my paint. Do you hear that? You hear the sound the sand is making in there? All right, so that's my yellow. And then, oh, I forgot to say I have paper towels here. We're going to use paper towels to clean off the edge of my brush. And then I'll do the mixing with the brown paint in the sand. And we'll do mix, 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 mix. And this is actually making a very light brown. It's not what I expected, but that's okay. So here we go, mix, 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 mix. And we're gonna brush the extra off, just like that. And I can even wipe, clean off the edge of my brush. And then I'm going to put that brush aside. So I'm gonna start with my brown and my yellow paint. And you know what? I think I'm gonna use one of these big round brushes to get some brown paint so that I can paint the beach. And you can do brush. Oh, my brushes are moving on me. Brush, brush, brush. Or you can get some and you can do dab, 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 dab. I know we love to do dab painting sometimes. And we can do it all over here. Get a little more. Dab, 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 dab with my brown paint. Okay, I think that's all I want to do with that one. I'm going to set this aside over here and set this brush aside. And then I think I'm going to get this long flat brush here. It's a little different. And that's the one I'll use for the yellow paint. And that I'm also using for my sand. I love to mix colors and blend my paint. So I'm going to put those together and do some of the brown and yellow together and with the sand. And when I'm dabbing, some of the sand is popping off all together, and that is actually exactly what I'm wanting it to do so that it looks just like the sand that we walk on at the beach. Okay, I think I've done enough of the edge of the beach. Now I'd like to do some interesting things with the water. So I'm going to put these down over here. And to start with the water, so here, let me just show you. That's some of my sand for the beach. And then I'm going to use this side of my paper to do the water, the ocean water at the beach. So I have my special watercolor brush here, and I'm going to get it all wet. Remember, I have my bowl of water, because what's the most important part of using watercolors? We need the water. And then on my watercolor palette, I'm going to find blue. And I'm going to take my wet paintbrush and mix it in the blue. Wet paintbrush and mix it in the blue. And make sure my paintbrush is all covered with the paint. And then I can start to paint some blue on my paper. And I'm just going to do different strokes and brushes. I think I need to get a little more water and swirl around in the blue. And you can do brush or dab, whatever you think is going to work best for you, my friends. So now the fun thing about the watercolor is it's really nice and wet on my paper. And as you noticed, I didn't mix the sand right into the watercolor because I wanted to save this palette so I could use it again for other projects. But what I can do is just take a little sand out of my cup. Oh, see that? I have a little sand out of my cup. And I can do some sprinkle on it. And when it dries, some of the sand will stick to it. But the other thing I want to do is I also have this nice blue paint, and I want to get some sandy blue paint onto the paper. So I'm going to do just a little bit of sand in this blue, not as much as I did in the other one, but you can do as much as you would like to get it as sandy as you think you'd like your ocean water to be. And see, stir. Okay, let's wipe that off. Wipe it off over here. And now I'm going to get the biggest brush that I had here, this nice big round brush, and I'm going to dip it into that blue paint. And I am going to dab, and brush. And I'm mixing it in with some of the watercolor paint, and you can do that, or you could just go around it. And there's some sand in here, and I'm blending it all around. Here we go, to create my ocean. There, we're gonna get a little bit more. And you can put on as much paint as you'd like. Okay. The other thing that I think I'm going to do is, because some of the sand stuck to the side of the cup and didn't come off as much in the paper, is, here, let me get my paper right. Let me brush off some of the extra paint on this brush. Is remember how I sprinkled some of the sand in the watercolor? I think I'm gonna do it on this too. Just to get a little extra texture. The other thing is if it's okay with mom or dad, whoever you're doing your painting with, is this is also fun to do a little finger painting with, because the paint has a different texture than it usually does because we've put some sand in it. So if you touch it, I don't know if you can see here, but see how there's some sand on my fingers? So it has a different texture than the paint that we usually use. All right, friends, I'm not going to pick it up all the way just because the sand is still drying and I don't want it all to fall off. But here is my sandy beach painting, and I've used some sand and some water and some paint and mixed it all together to make my very own beach scene. And that's what you can do at home. And once you make one, I hope you'll take some pictures for us so that we can see all the great work you're doing too. We can't wait to see it, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye, friends.